class. Okay. Service systems design, again, like I said, some part of it we have already covered in service blueprinting and service encounter, how technology plays a role, service blueprinting, how you interact front-end employees, back-end employees, and your customers, right? So there are like four approaches or four thought processes of designing service systems. Production line approach, which comes basically from the manufacturing setup, right? Or you can think customer as a co-producer, right? You do not think customer as a end, like you are serving towards the end of the process. You ask them to be part of the process, right? Then customer contact, right? How you play with, or how you like kind of how much customer contact is required, right? How much when, where, and we'll discuss about that. Then there is a relationship between requirement from sales and marketing. In some cases we do willingly put employees because we need to get certain details, right? We need actual customer contact, not through a telephone, not through email, right? And that is where the compromise will play a role. How much customer contact the sales and marketing or the product managers do require, and how much money you can spend in these kind of operations, right? We'll discuss that. Then there is something called information empowerment, right? And that is something which you are discussing, or I was giving an example, right? Information empowerment in today's world is both kind of great advantage for employees, your front end employees, and your customers also. But in some cases what happens, customers do not have access to that information. Some group of people, if I go to rural market right now, yes, internet have like lot of access, telecom bandwidth is there, but there will be people who do not know how to use the application. If I talk about Google Pay, Phone Pay, there will be people who are still not, one, willingness, second, they do not know how to use that, right? They might be using smartphone, they might be using YouTube and all those music like kind of application to listen to music or watch videos, but certain applications they will not be willing to, neither they want to learn also, right? So how to kind of avoid, or how to uh, fight those challenges, right? So those are the four important concepts or aspects which we are going to discuss about service systems. Production line, right? So production line, you think of uh, I have an end service to give, right? I have raw materials. Raw materials will be processed. So that is how a production line or assembly line works, right? So at the end, I have to manufacture automobile. So I will list down my bill of material or BOM. What are the components required? So that components will be ordered from my raw material vendors. Once the components arrive, or I have those components in my inventory, so I list down what are the process structure for assembly line. Okay, these are the processes which will be done in the first phase. In the second phase, this will happen. In the third phase, this will happen, right? So complete work plan will be prepared, that will be circulated across all the assembly line manufacturers, and they will start creating that. And at the end, it will be tested, right? A visual inspection or manual testing, and at the end, the product is delivered, right? Same thing can be applied in services. You are in a fast food restaurant, you know that what need to be produced. You need not kind of wait for, okay, customers might order this ingredient, right? Which happens in a fast like a five-star restaurant, right? So you know that, okay, these are the menu customers will order. So before that, you have already inventorized, right, your raw material for burger, for french fries, whatever you need, right? You have already inventorized it. Once customer places a order, okay, I want this is a process step, right? 4 or 5 workers will be there, each of them have a specific purpose, right? In an assembly line, somebody will be putting the chassis, somebody will be inspecting, somebody will be putting the paint, right? In an automobile manufacturing line, same thing here. If I go to a MACD, and I think most of you, if you have gone to those KFC or MACD, you can look into those back-end workers who are working there, right? It is completely visible to you. 3 or 4 workers will be standing in a line, not necessarily a line, maybe in a semicircle, and each of them will be doing certain activity, right? That is one of the assembly line which is working. one person will be packaging, one person will be in the billing counter, one person will be like maybe whatever soft drinks or cold drinks you have ordered, right? And that is how they will be assembling your what you have ordered, what you have kind of your final product or final service what you require, right? One advantage is cost leadership, because you can save a lot of cost, because your process time or the cycle time it takes to deliver is minimized, right? And this same example I can take, and I can talk about your customer as a co-producer, which we have discussed earlier also, right? So here what happens, most of the fast food joints, if you go, there is now nobody like who will take you order, so there is no concept of waiter, right? So the each restaurant there will be two or three waiters who take the orders, bring the food to your table, clean the table, right? If you go to all these fast food restaurant, there will be someone to clean the tables, but there won't be anyone who will take your order, bring your food. Most of the fast food restaurant, in some cases there will be people, but most of the fast food restaurant, there is no like a concept of waiter. So that role of a waiter is now being played by your customer, the person like you and me. So that is anyhow we'll discuss customer as a producer. So what are the advantages, disadvantages? Limited discretionary action of personnel, right? So it is not that okay, I want to like and that is how they standardize everything, right? If you go to a fast food restaurant, most of the times the size, the structure, everything, ingredients are almost similar if I eat here in Bhubaneswar or Bangalore or Ahmedabad, wherever, right? Most of the times. Obviously, there will be slight change. Right? It cannot be fully like completely identical. But what happens? They try to make it standardized. So it is not that okay, here the one size or the ingredient, more ingredient they will put, right? So that is how everything is designed. If it is a medium fries, small fries, or a large fries, what is the size you have to give? It is not that the it is on the discretionary of the personnel who is delivering the service, right? Everything has been standardized. Division of labor, total job is broken into simple tasks, right? So division of labor again plays multiple roles even in the assembly line. One thing, everybody has a small role to play, right? So I will be in the ice cream on the soft drink section where I'll be providing like kind of filling up the cups. Somebody will be in the other section, somebody will be in the billing counter, right? So that is how, and it can be rotated, right? It is not that I'll be doing whole day the same task, right? So division of labor helps in that way also, because if I am the only one who is doing the billing, right? In if you go to the small restaurants, not the fast food restaurant, and that is how it happens, right? There will be somebody who is like playing the manager role. Okay, I am the billing counter person only. I'll not do any task. Somebody will be waiter, somebody will be like kind of a cook, chef, right? Somebody will be cleaning the table. That is a complete hierarchy, right? Waiter cannot do the cook activity, or cook cannot do the billing counter guy's activity, right? Complete division of labor, complete segregation, not division of labor. But here, if you go to the fast food restaurant, right? So it is not that every employee plays the same different roles at different point of time. The person who is standing in the billing counter, after 1 hour, 2 hour, he will be in the back end doing the cleaning activities, or he might be in the like inventory, like ordering activities, right? And they keep rotating the roles. Whenever division of roles are there, it is easy to rotate the roles, and obviously there will be no expertise. What happens if somebody is saying that okay, I only do the billing, nobody knows how to work in that. If he or she is ill or is not ill, leave the company or leave the job, you are in a big trouble. Now what happens, everybody knows others job. If one person is ill today or he is on leave today, other person can play his or her role, because there is no standard role that okay, I will only do this activity, or he or she only knows, nobody else knows the other activity, right? And most of the offices also they do that, right? And that is where if you see one of the big change in project management is happening. Traditional project management talks about somebody is a project manager, somebody is a developer, software developer, somebody is a software tester, somebody is a client, somebody is a product manager, right? But right now when you talk about scrum or agile, those kind of methodology, whenever a list of tasks is given, it is not that okay, this person is going to do this task, right? Nobody is going to assign you that task. Based on your capacity, based on your capability, skill set, you take that task, and they basically allow you or motivate you to take different tasks. So that what happens, everybody knows others' job. So somebody cannot say that okay, I'm only a software developer. I do not know about any testing. I'll not do any software testing. Or a software tester will say, I do not know about any coding. Yes, obviously you might not have that skill set. Somebody who is a like writing Java code for last 5 years or 10 years, but learn something, right? If a day comes, you have to fill in a role. You have to fill in a role in that day, right? And that is where the one of the biggest challenge comes, right, in implementation of Agile and Scrum, because it is open to, in a traditional project management, somebody will be assigning you a job, assigning you a task. Okay, I am the project manager. Based on your skill set, these are the things you have to complete by these next 3 days. Here you have to take that assignment or take that task, and you have to define how much time you will take. Obviously that need to be agreed upon the team members, but it is a collaborative activity. Same thing to a certain extent applicable here. Nobody will have a single expertise in a single kind of a activity or a single task. Substitution of technology for people. Most of the times, if you see, look into ATM, look into, and I think we have repeated this example earlier also. If you go to a boarding hospital, like kind of a airport, right? Boarding pass and all those things. Right now, some part of it have been, obviously the security check still happens where CRPF inside here or in US at TSA. So those people will be there, will be doing those security checks. But most part of your boarding process has been automated, right? Boarding pass, printing the boarding pass, check login, luggage check-in, and all those things have been automated. And these steps helps you to make the service standardization, like limited service options, guarantee predictability and pre-planning, routine processes helps to ensure service quality, right? Because I'm doing a small set of activities, right? In my menu only there are 10 or 15 items, right? And that is where the difference of different hospitals comes, right? There are few hospitals who look into very specific diseases, specific illnesses, right? So it is not that a big hospital with all everything providing every solution for all the diseases. So there are hospitals like that. Most of the government hospitals work like that, right? But if you go into, so there will be specific hospitals or clinic for children, because they have that, they know that they offer limited number of services. They standardize it. They have limited number of doctors, limited set of equipment, limited set of helping personals, nurses, and all those things. And they try to standardize all those activities and provide those kind of services or care, right? So this is about the production line approach, where you think customer as a end service, you are providing that end service to him, and all these steps have been standardized. It goes from one step to other, adding each step, it gets added some value, right? So that is the meaning of assembly line, right? Whenever a product or a component processed or moves through assembly line, each step it needs to get some value added, right? If it is not getting some value added, remove that step, right? And that is something which we discussed in value stream mapping, right? Any questions on this? Customer as a co-producer, right? IKEA was the first company, may not be the first one itself, but was one of the first few companies who basically kind of leverage this concept, right? Otherwise, what used to happen? Furniture means, in customers' mindset, it is always there. Even in our home, if I say that okay, I'll bring some furniture and assemble myself, your parents will be looking into like that. You do not know anything. How will you assemble, right? And that is like for a long period of time. This is the mindset, right? Where furnitures will be assembled, or if it is not assembled, somebody, some carpenter will come and assemble at your home, right? So IKEA started doing that, and that's why it is very popular in Europe, right? Where people try to do this kind of experiment, and they kind of leverage that idea, saying that I am creating a product, and you take it as a fun exercise. I'll give you all the instructions, do it yourself, DIY instructions. Now you build that product, you build that furniture, right? And that is the IKEA's USP. Obviously, they do have kind of other strategies. They do have a excellent kind of a quality products, right? They have a very good quality inspection process, quality check, and they do have certain like creative marketing strategies. But their operation strategy was the part of the activity which actually carpenter, they used to appoint carpenter. Even now also they have carpenters. If you ask them, no, I cannot assemble, send a carpenter. But they charge it in such a way that it will be almost like, let's say if you are buying something for $300, $300 itself will be carpenter charge, right? So they strategically price too big. If some customers still willing to pay that, they'll send a carpenter. But now what happens, part of your activity which is to assemble, now you are giving to the customers, right? And you are asking them to assemble themselves whatever, and obviously that is where the design aspect comes. Your components need to be designed in a such a that it will be easy to kind of assemble, right? Because they are not the trained carpenters. As a layman, people like you and me, if you are assembling something, will do mistakes, right? So the components, the structures should be so simple that anybody going through the instructions should be able to assemble. So that is one engineering or design aspect. Can you tell me what other advantage, operation wise, not on the sales or the revenue or the profit wise, operation wise, doing this kind of activity, specifically for IKEA, when you are asking customers to build or take these components and build at your home, what other advantage IKEA is getting?
So transportation wise, they can carry a large number of furniture rather than small amount of furniture. Because if the product is ready-made, that it will take up a lot of space in the truck as well.
Correct, correct. So inventorizing and transportation. Just imagine if it is a big sofa or a big cot, transporting it and putting in a warehouse, right? It takes a lot of space. Now what happens if you're just only the boards and whatever is required to build a cot or a sofa, these are all de-assembled. Storing it in a warehouse is easy and it will take less space. Similarly for transporting it, now you can transport more of the material, more of the component, right? And that was like a very big advantage. They were almost used to save around 60 to 70% of the space in the warehouse in comparison to normal furniture makers, and that was the operational saving. Obviously they build a strategy. It take them few years to sell those kind of tagline that now you can build your own furniture and all those things. A lot of marketing campaigns went behind all these things, but only looking into the operation side, those are the two major advantage, right? uh, Increasing degree of customization through co-creation, open innovation. That is something, if you go and look into major companies, right? Google, Facebook, and all those things, right? Most of the time they keep these open forums, open innovations, right? You have an idea, right? And sometimes they do all those kind of innovation. Sometimes it is open for MBA students also, where through different business cases, not only a product innovation, it can be a business case innovation also, where customers is giving an idea to create a product, right? Dell is one of the pioneers to, like Dell and HP, all those companies were the pioneers of these open forums, right? Where customers will put their ideas and those ideas will get voted, and out of that every year they'll select one or two ideas to get implemented, right? Self-service, and this is what we talked about, right? Be it in an airport, be it in a kind of a bank, where customers are doing those self-service. You are going to ATM and withdrawing money. You are going to airport and printing your boarding pass. Smoothing service demand, smoothing variances in service demand. So that is where like you think of, and I think we have discussed this also earlier, right? Now customers can, earlier what will happen, customers will come to you and you will say that, okay, doctor's appointment, doctor's is busy today, tomorrow only you can come, right? Or day after tomorrow, but you will give them the booking, right? Okay, on this slot you will be available. Now what will you make that open? You create a website or you create application, you share the doctor's calendar. Doctor will be available between this time to this time every day, barring Sunday. These are the calendar. Now you are asking customers to book, right? And how that helps, that smoothens the demand. When a customer realize that okay, on this day, Wednesday or Tuesday, there are already 5 patients are booked. If I go there, obviously each patient 10 minutes or 15 minutes, it will, well, I have to wait for 1 hour, 2 hours. So let me check for a different slot, maybe Thursday or Friday, right? So when you are giving that to a customers is willingly look into the time slot, which will be easier for him. He or she did not have to wait more, right? And that helps in smoothing the demand. Otherwise, what will happen? Someday 15 customers are there, they arrived in your hospital or clinic. Someday it is vacant, the doctor is waiting, no patients, right? Now if you make that open, now you make the customer as a scheduler, right? Customer is looking into the doctor's schedule, and they themselves are choosing on which slot or which day they will come, right? And that helps them in smoothing the demand, right? Then obviously customer generated content, which is a very big thing in today's world for marketers, right? Rather than you creating a content, if you see most of the companies are asking, think about Nestle, and they started asking customers to, you create your own Maggie and post that videos, right? So now what happens, those become the UGC or user generated content, right? And that have a much more traction than companies putting some ad, putting some advertisement, right? Because people can connect with those advertisements or those user generated content, right? And it is not only Nestle. Think about any company, in one way or other, they are doing that. Whenever you are engaging in those social media, you are creating content in Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, wherever customer is creating some content for you, right? That is only thing how you are controlling that, right? Because sometimes what happens, that gets that becomes backfire on you, right? Sometimes some negative thing happened, and people start writing, people start putting a lot of bad negative content on you, right? Same thing with, I think, Maggie happened few years back when that rumor or the reality came into picture, right? And the point is how you take control of it, right? User generated content is neither good or bad. How you use it, how a company uses it, right? It is a great tool. Only thing is that it's not backfire a lot on you. If you leave everything on users, there will be always trolls which will make your life miserable, right? Any questions on this? So customer contact, right? So this is an interesting kind of visualization. What it is showing here, basically, if I look into this x-axis, right? X-axis is customer contact. Towards the left hand is my low customer contact. That means um, everything is automated. There is no front end employee who is interacting with customers, right? So there is no human interaction as such, right? High, that means yes, there is a face to face total customization depending upon customer's requirement. It is there, right? Then sales opportunities, right? Low and high, that is y axis. Whenever you are interacting remotely without face to face contact, and you yourself will face that difficulty in case some of you get into sales and marketing role, because people at least in India, people generally find it difficult to say no on face. In US and Europe, they'll bluntly say no. They do not want anything. They'll say no. I do not want this. In India, we have been kind of, our culture, the way we have grown, right? Obviously, the like gradually it is changing. Westernization is happening, but it is little difficult. We'll make many excuses, or we'll uh, like if you go somewhere and you are selling something. I don't know how many of you have no sales in terms of opportunities. So, and that is one thing to look into, right? Once customer starts giving excuses, right? right? If you're selling something, let's say some of you done in Byju's or Outlook or wherever you have done, right? If somebody customer says no, I do not want it, so stop the call there, right? There is no chance. He is very clear or she is very clear. No matter what you say, he or she is not going to buy, at least on that point of time. But if somebody starts giving excuses, no, right now I do not have, I have financial problem, I'll not buy it, or I have some other kind of similar kind of product or services, so I'll not use it. That is your entry point, because because now you realize that somebody when start giving excuses, right? They really may not need that product or service, but once they start giving excuses, right? Somewhere or other they are finding it difficult to say no, right? And that is how we have been like kind of in Indian culture, it is very difficult to say no to others, right? And to be honest, that is a bad thing, and that takes a lot of wastage of time. But the point is, now once somebody started giving excuses, you can enter there. Now you can somewhere or other, the good thing is to talk about the, if they are using some product or services, ask them to talk about those product or services, what they find difficult about that. You need to find some entry point, or talk about something interesting which happened about those product or services, or something which they know about your product or services, what they have heard from their relatives or friends. So there is a conversation point to go in, and you will get entry point to get into make a sales pitch. Whether it is a B2C or B2B, it doesn't matter. But if somebody says straight no, at least at that point of time, you 100% sure you'll not able to convert it. Later on, yes, there you might get a next chance. Maybe if you go face to face, you might get a better chance. But on that point of time, you're not able to make a sales. And that is something very interesting. You, if some of you get into sales, remember that. So now what happens whenever we have this kind of remote interaction, right? We do not have on standing in front of customers, right? It our sales opportunities are less. I think in this way, if you're calling a customer, he can disconnect phone. And most of the times, if you anytime if you, somebody is giving you a call for a credit card or a bank loan, now what happens? You have Truecaller, you will disconnect phone within 5 seconds, 10 seconds. You need not wait for saying them hello. But that won't happen. Sometimes it will happen. Customers might be rude and say that no, I do not want to talk to you. But at least interaction won't be 5 seconds. It will be 15 second, 20 second, 30 second, 1 minute, right? At least you will have chance to interact with them, right? And that is where the sales opportunity increases, right? The more time you stay with a customer, the more opportunity you have, right? And I'll not disclose that company. Some companies have that role also, like kind of rule also, right? If you get into those companies every day, you have to talk for this amount of time to customers. And if it is less than certain seconds or certain minute, so that will not be counted. And how do they arrive at that point, or how do they arrive at that seconds? Because they now know that, okay, if a customer is talking beyond certain seconds or certain minute, the more opportunity you have. There is opportunity to convert that into a sales. Right? It is a worthwhile pursuit to talk to that customer, to talk to that consumer, right? So basically, the overall thing out of this slide is the more face-to-face, the direct communication channel is there, right? More sales opportunity. So if you see this side of your y-axis, sales opportunity is high if is on the top end, low in the bottom end. But as your face-to-face interaction goes, right, your process efficiency gets low. Your sales opportunity increases, but your process opportunity or efficiency decreases. Why it is so? Because the more time you are spending with customer, you have to put much more employees, many more employees. Time takes to interact with them much more, right? The number of customers you'll be able to cover within a day will be less. Think about Airtel office. Think about Amazon's customer care service. If everything is automated, the number of customers they'll be able to. So every time if they are just ask customers to write down a email, or customers to, or Zomato, any kind of service application you can think of, Practo, Zomato, your Amazon, right? If it is only through email or kind of a website, those automated chatbots, right, phone, right? So if only through this, the number of customers will be able to handle in a day will be much more. But if you put face to face, every time a customer calls, you have an employee to talk, right? Normal greetings itself, completing the greetings, getting the name details itself, it will take 15 to 30 seconds, right? Then customer will disclose or discuss about his or her problem, and it will continue, right? So the number of customers you are able to handle in a day within 8 hours shift will be less, and that is the challenge here. Remember, we are talking about all the services here, right? My, if I am creating service operations, my aim will be to, in a day, if single employees on an average per hour 10 to 15 complaints, so in a day 80 to 120 complaints on an average employees should handle, right? That should be done, that should be, we will be able to complete as long as some part of automation is there. If employee is only replying through email or chat or kind of phone, once face to face interaction happens, somebody going to Airtel customer care service, sitting in front of you, talking to you, it will take much more time, right? So process efficiency becomes low, right? But other way around, what happens? Once customer starts interacting with you, there is a negative into process efficiency, because you are taking long time to handle customers complaint. But for you, if a company takes advantage of that, there is a sales opportunity. Customers, and that is where somewhere, if you have gone to Airtel and all those offices where physical customer service, they'll start to sell you something. Okay, you have this postpaid, why don't you take the so they'll try to either cross sell or upsell you something, right? Why did you take the larger the more 499 or 599, you'll get a Prime Video or Netflix or something else free, right? And that is where your sales opportunity increases, right? Any questions on this? Then comes the information empowerment, right? So like I said, obviously it has a lot of advantage to it. If I look into customer side, right? Anytime we want to buy something, service or product, we take advice from internet. It makes our life easy, and that is what we have discussed in our last class or class before that, geographical information system or location based services, right? So think about new age services, Zomato, Uber, Ola, and even your Paytm, PhonePe also, they track your locations. Accordingly, they customize the services for you, right? Both from the company side, from the customer side also, it is now becomes like is easier, right? If I compare that to 10 or 15 or 20 years back, right? Region, like this I have taken from some website, like what are the region to contact customer service during the purchase process. 40% of them have told product question, something related to product, something related to price, something related to delivery, something related to post purchases, right? So there are different regions for which a customer will be talking to your customer care service personals, right? And it empowers them, right? Because they have a like kind of a lot of information in hand, right? If they know how to access that before they talk to you, they can always discuss that, and they always can question you what kind of services you are providing, right? So in a way, it is employee empowerment also. They also have access, they also will have database. They know before talking to a customer, they know that how many times the customer have talked to you, right? So anytime you are talking to a Amazon or a Flipkart or any kind of these e-commerce vendors, they have a star mark for you, how many times customers have called them, whether you have rated them or not, all the information. So we do not rate them. We think that okay, who will rate them? But all the information is available to them, and accordingly they provide their what kind of service they are providing, right? Whether the customer has been reviewed, because they are also rating you Every time interaction happens, now it is two-way. You are rating their service. If not, they are rating you. How that interaction happened, whether the customer was polite or rude, whether customer were telling something which was not in line, all those things, right? So that gives a lot of employee empowerment where they can store information. They have the customer background with them, right? Before talking to a customer, right? Think in this way: if we were talking to a customer care executive on phone or on a chatbot, they already have all the details about you. If you suddenly reach there in their office or meet somewhere else, they might not have all the information in their hand, right? So they have to ask all the details again, right? So that is what information empowerment happens both from the customer end and from the employee end. But again, it has its own challenges, which we'll discuss in the next slide. Customer acceptance, right? Loss of personal attention. I think all of us have faced that issue, right? Anytime right now you call for any customer care service, we have to listen to some boring music for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, right? Then only if we are lucky enough, we'll get a chance to talk to a customer care executive. Otherwise, we'll get into that loop. It will keep continuing. And that is very irritating, right? To talk to like a automated voice, you know that you need to talk to a person to like discuss your problem, but you're not able to talk to that. Learn new skills, and that is what I was talking about, right? There will be always a segment of customers, right? And it is not about, say, like technology also evolving, right? By the time you get old, right, technology will be in a such a way that you might not get accustomed to that kind of technology. Like my grandparents uh, had a issue using telephone. My parents have right now issue with using social media. I might have issue 20, 25 years or 30 years down the line using this augmented reality or virtual reality, which you may not face that issue. But again, like in your age, when you get old, there will be some new technology you might not get accustomed to, right? Because technology itself is evolving. Like we humans are evolving with technology, right? The way that how speedily, like whether we are evolving or we are getting that knowledge in line with how the technology is evolving, right? And that is a big challenge. There will be always groups of people who will be like kind of away from this kind of usage of technology. How to get in touch with them or how to make them that they are not sidelined, right? And it is happening a lot in today's world. When you talk about all the advantages of technology, there will be a group of people who will be sidelined due to this kind of so speedily technology is changing. Think about in this way: the time it took to, like, by the time we had telephone, mobile phones, we just skipped 3G. In Western countries, it was 2G for some years, then 3G for some years, then 4G. In India, telephone came 2G, then 4G. 3G, I think it was for 1 year and 1.5 years. So some technology we are like just bypassing like anything. Employee acceptance, again, employees need to get retained in some technology, right? And that is somewhere I think whom I was talking to, ERP implementation. Anytime you go do an internship, right? Implementing in supply chain problem is happening, implement ERP. HR problem is happening, technology ERP implementation. That is a standard solution. If that company do not have a enterprise resource planning, implement that. But problem with the training always happens with the training. Obviously, like monetary, whether that company have that much finances to implement that. Second, with the training, most of us are accustomed. If you go to a government office, most of them are accustomed with physical files. If you ask them to, and that is somewhere like these old PSU banks had a lot of issues. Even now also, some older employees, they'll say that I'll not learn all those systems. I'll go through manual files, right? And that is somewhere your retraining problem, right? Either employees will not be willing to learn. Same thing with customers. Customers won't be willing to learn. If I say that, and I think which company faced that is Myntra, I guess, right? In between, Myntra said that okay, they'll move into full application mode. They'll not have a website. Later on, again they change back to, so they'll have both. So you can take a bold step like that, but if your customers are not willing to switch with you, right? That will be a big challenge. Back office, full benefits until standard accepted industry, so many browser security settings, right? And that is somewhere again a challenge, right? You are using a system somewhere like let's say ERP system which is not integrated with my vendor, or which is not like kind of useful in to my suppliers, right? And that is where if it is a industry based standard, everybody using same setup, right? And that is one like luckily Microsoft, I don't know how, and they've like kind of failed miserably to take advantage of that. So they were the only company who had around 85% to 90% market in this kind of office software, right? They could have done a lot. You do not need of any kind of other softwares, right? Because people are accustomed, and right now also most of us are accustomed to office softwares, right? PowerPoint, Word, Excel. They were in a position that they would have like monopolized this kind of services for next 50 years. But somehow in between they lost track. I think previous CEO did not do a good job. Now what happens? Other companies have come into that place where they're providing better presentation software, better visualization software, better data analytics software, right? Only thing is that because most of us are accustomed to Excel, Word, or PowerPoint, it takes little bit of time. But once that time period is over, people are accustomed to use other technologies. People will switch. Employees will switch, right? So again, the new technology adoption again is a challenge for your customers also. Whether customer is willing to move to a, if I say that okay, I won't have any website, you just have to use my application, right? Or employee wise also, right? Employee wise retraining them, making sure that your software or your technology is integrated to your vendor suppliers also, right? Otherwise you will be getting only 20% or 30% of advantage, right? You'll not be taking the full advantage of technology, right? Any questions on this? So now comes to service design. I think this I have shown you earlier. Just to repeat, because next slide will talk about design thinking and how it is different. We always start with the why we are doing this, right? What is our philosophy? Basically, objective of our service, right? If you remember that our service design approach, right? Then what we are doing? So to attain this objective, if I say my objective is to build a ecosystem where patients or anybody need any health help regarding any health issues will be able to get that help within next 10 minutes or 15 minutes, right? So that is my objective. So I'll start with a why. Then now what? So I'll convert into why to specific task or activities of my applications, right? Okay, to build this, these are the things required, these are the things I'll deliver. Okay, I'll have doctors across world or across India. I'll have this physiotherapy, I'll have this, I'll let's say tie up with pharmacies to deliver medicines, right? Tie up with other kind of health providers, insurance providers, right? So these were the offerings. It will start with my why I'm doing this, what is my objective, and then that will give rise to my ideation, right? What then? Now the question is how, what kind of platform I'm going to use, what kind of technology I'm going to use, whether it is in manual, automated, or a mix of that, right? So when you are designing your service for your presentation, think in these steps. So you start with the problems, Zomato, Paytm, or whichever company you have taken. Start with what are the problems you are facing. Now, why you are doing that? What are the things you are going to do, right? So that will give rise to your service offerings. Then think about your platform. What kind of platform you can use? What kind of technology you are going to use? Or will it be going to stay manual? Whatever, right? You have to justify that. Then the persons, right, who sometimes who need not be necessarily humans, you can put like automated machines, right? Like ATMs or removed, or ATMs replace the tellers in bank, right? The locations, that is something interesting. If it is a website, You need not have to have a physical offices, but again, thinking of what kind of services you are providing, you might need to have physical offices also, right? So that will define the service points, right? Then when, is it a 24 by 7? If it is your website, you might do it. But if it is something like a restaurant, if it is something related to a physical delivery of services, the service operations times. So these are the things when you are creating those presentations, you have to think in this line of thinking, right? And this is a traditional way of thinking. You start with a why, then you talk about what are the things you are going to offer, how you are going to offer, who is going to offer, where you are, basically those 5W, right? Now what is different then when you talk about service design and design thinking and say that okay, how design thinking can be applied in service design, or let's say mostly it can be in product design also, it is not only for service design, but basically how, what is the difference between design thinking and design service, normal design process, traditional design process, right? So you won that, right? Otherwise what happens, earlier what you used to think, customer is a separate entity, he or she is having some problem, we are trying to solve that. Now what I have a challenge, you put yourself in that position, empathize. So in design thinking, the first step is empathy. Then what is my learnings, what kind of problem? So that is a deep like kind of interpolation. You have to introspection of yourself as a customer, as a user. If you are not the right person, if you do not use that, then you have to find someone in your team, right, who can visualize, who can empathize in those kind of product or services, right? Then the ideation has to be cross functional, and that is one big mistake happens in most of the companies. Ideation always starts with okay, you did a market research, those market research agencies will come in, now the product manager, marketing manager will sit together and the ideation process starts. Most of the companies do that mistake. Then they will go to the manufacturing or the other team members for experimentation once they build the prototype. In ideation itself, your cross functional teams has to happen. All of your members need to come together. Each of them will there give their own opinion, why it will work, why it will. It is basically initially they do not talk about why it will not happen. It is like as wide as possible. You can give any kind of ideas. So it start with a big kind of ideation stage, then try to finalize, right? That then they try to say that why it will not work or why it will work. So initially there is no such thing as that it will not work. Anybody is free to give any kind of idea. Then the experimentation phase and the prototype building. Here actually you should go and take help from some actual users, try to do certain experimentation, and it is a iterative process, right? There is no final product or service you will deliver. It will keep evolving. Then feedback mechanism has to be there where you will get the feedback, right? And you keep evolving that. And that is something again you have to remember. Any new idea you are like recommending in your presentation, always keep that feedback mechanism, right? If somebody faces issue, what is the feedback mechanism for you? How quickly as a product manager you will be able to get that feedback and try to rework on that. So there are again different approaches. There is idea school, then this is from Stanford, right? So how you go about the same thing, but just basically we are discussing some of the tools or processes, right? Empathize, right? Empathize means you are putting yourself in customer shoes, right? You create different customer personas, right? You start talking, okay, this is a customer, 30-year-old, this is income background, this is the family background, this is the education, then these are the challenges he or she faces, right? So this is a customer persona. Most of you have taken marketing, you might have in digital marketing, you might have talked about or read about the customer persona. Same thing here. You start with a customer persona, thinking that person using or facing that problem, right? If you are creating a new product or service, you start with why, right? So why somebody, what kind of problem that person is facing, right? You start with that pain point. Role objectives, what kind of role that playing, decisions, challenges, pain point, right? What kind of decisions that person day to day takes, right? Think about a investment application. Think about a savings application. Mid like let's say you are designing something for a person like me, right? So you create a persona, say that okay, this is education, this is income, this is family background, this is the challenge he is facing, right? This is the decisions every day he has to take or every month has to take. This is the salary, these are the expenses, this much saving, where to put it, how to plan for retirement or how to plan for future, how to plan for health, right? So these are the decisions if you are creating, or let's say health, or this is the family background. These are the few decisions yearly or quarterly or 6 months he has to take. How much insurance money he should put, or what is the health check, what are the necessary health checks he has to do for him and family, what are the minimum amount they have to save for health related issues, right? So you right now what happens otherwise going and asking, most of the customers like do not have time and all those things, right? Now you're putting yourself or group of people, so it never happened that okay, I myself will be there, right? So there will be a group of people in your company who will be playing that role, and that is where it is always a design thinking is a group activity. It has to be workshop based. You cannot go and ask customers standing in a line 5 minutes or 10 minutes. They have to be here. They have to be in your campus. You have to be physically present there, talking about the role. So you have to create that persona, right? So how do you do it? Interviews, shadowing, seek to understand, non-judgmental, right? So once that workshop happens, right? So it is only your role if you are taking you remember some of you remember we discussed about that focus group discussion. So that is moderator, right? He plays a role asking questions. Here there is no asking questions and all those things. You just discuss, you as a person you discuss your problem, decisions, challenges, right? Non-judgmental, obviously. Now, once you happen that all this kind of will be listed down as a defined, what are the pain point challenges and all those things will be defined. Then now ideate, right? So this is what I was talking about, diverse and converse, right? So initially different ideas, right? Out of the box divergent ideas will come, right? Some ideas will be exactly opposite of others. Somebody will say that okay, let us fully automate this. Somebody will say that no, if you automate this, most of the people will not be willing to make investment or health decision based on artificial intelligence. They need certain human interaction. Make it fully a human interaction there. Will designate as like a human or a employee to take care of their help them in those decisions. It cannot be automated because this is a very big decision in their life. If you put a artificial intelligence or a bot, right? So nobody will listen to that. So these are the divergent ideas, right? Some ideas will be completely 180-degree opposite of other. Now you try to combine them or come to a, so again it is not a compromise. It is not that okay, he is telling this, I am telling that, so let us go through the mid path, right? So you can go to the other idea also. If all of you agree, you can go to the single most preferable idea, but you should have certain justifications to it. So divergent ideas, lot of ideas, hundreds of ideas, then you try to come into a few selected ideas, then prioritize, right? Out of that, which are the things you need to prioritize, and that is where you remember we talked about minimum viable product or minimum viable experience, right? You there will be 100 things to do. You will not able to build 100 things in one go. Prioritize. If I'm going to create application which will help Indian nationals to invest or plan for their future, what are the things need to be prioritized? What are the few things, 3 or 5 things need to be created first? Later on, I can include many things. Later on, I can include home loan thing. Later on, I can include vehicle loan, vehicle insurance. But right now, what I need most is health. COVID has happened. Most of people who suffered through COVID faced that issue. They did not have insurance. So that is something need to be prioritized. Again, I'm giving an example, right? So if that is the case, what are the ideas to it? And I have to create a application for that. Right? And that is where your prototype, mock-up, storyboards, and that is the traditional method, right? It is not new. It is already the standard process. Fail fast, right? Anything you are doing, you know that you will fail, but that is has to happen. Once you fail, then you build on that, and that is where your feedback mechanism works. You launch the product or a service, it failed. Fail fast, rise up faster, right? Once you fail, then only you can rise up, right? Otherwise, what will happen? Customers are giving feedback and you are not getting that. You think that your application is running fine, but customer is not able to access that on a Android phone. You have built for a website. Most of the customers today are using like kind of smartphone. They are not able to open your application, right? And you do not have a feedback mechanism. 6 months down the line, you see and you see that customers are not using, and that is where your test has to happen. Understand impediments, why it is not working, or what are the like here when you created persona, or you did this kind of shadowing activities. Did you do some mistake? Whether the so here if you say like if you do mistake here, then this is somewhere empathizing has to have the most importance or the biggest part of your whole design thing. Because if this is not proper, if this is not a proper step, right, everything else will fall. Then what was role play, and that is some of the software, most of the applications, like I said, you have to play that role of a customer using different devices, and most of the software, these kind of app developers do that. If Instagram update happens, they will have 100 users with different devices playing the role of a customer, teenager. Uh, so they'll bring those people and they'll be using that application. What changed, whether they liked it or not, right? How fast they're able to access that, right? And that is where your iteration will happen, right? And you'll be able to create a great product or service for your customers. Any questions on this? So few example, Netflix changed the scenario like completely, like where people used to rent DVD or CDs, go to their home, watch that, again return the DVD and CDs, right? Blockbuster was one of the biggest company on those rental DVDs and CDs, right? So they provided what they designed, on-demand internet streaming, right? Uh, then they moved into the content creation part, right? So basically, they like post the blockbuster. But now what happened? They started putting themselves on customer shoes, right? They like kind of, so that is something called, I don't know whether it is working right now or not. And so they created a project called Netflix Socks. So most of the time they know that where you watch Netflix. Most of the times when you are went from college or office, after dinner you are on your bed and start watching a Netflix on your mobile phone or your TV, right? And most of the time these customers fall asleep, right? And it will be running, the shows will be running like anything, taking power, taking unnecessary consumption of electricity, right? Now what happens, once you kind of sleep, right, automatically it will pause or it will close the, obviously again that has to be designed. It should not be that, okay, how you measure somebody is sleeping, right? If somebody is not moving for 5 seconds or 10 seconds, you will suddenly pause. That will be very kind of annoying kind of application, right? Nobody will buy that, right? And that is something, again, they empathize with it, like they created that socks, they created a product, actually physical product, right, which customers will wear whenever they fall asleep. Automatically it will pause or automatically it will end, right? They created interesting application, commitment ring, that only allows streaming of episode when both partners are wearing rings and are nearby, right? So obviously somebody cannot watch without me, right? And some shows people or couples watch together, right? So and they targeted those kind of customer segment. So only that you can open that only only when your partner or a friend is nearby, right? So again, that was particularly for a particular group of people, particular segment of people. So you empathize it with what are the pain points or challenges and start with that, right? Try to create a product. Sheraton, and this is I did not discuss the company or the, but we have discussed this problem, right? Whenever you go and check in a hotel, right? Every time they'll take a lot of information, and it is always a repetition. If I go 2 years or 3 years down the line, again the same. It used to happen a lot, right? This and now if you see most of the companies right now they have app. It is not that every time that same information you have to give again and again. So it is long before 20 years back when everything was manually, right? This was the company, this was the hotel who automated it, keeping record of customer information for a repeat customer. And there is a very good case study on this. They started like recording the customers who are visiting often, started targeting them, right? And that is where the what happens right now. If it is a long line, long queue, and you are a visiting repeating customer, right? You go there and your like kind of check-in process is over within 10 seconds or 15 seconds. Now you have that factor, right? You can show that okay, others are standing in the line and your check-in is over, right? So this is where your 143 keystrokes getting, so they counted how much time it takes or keystrokes it takes to check in, because you have to record all the details. Now what happens within 3 strokes in a tablet, you have all the details. Somebody has visited earlier, you have all the details ready. Customer comes to your hotel within 3 keystrokes, customer check-in is over. So remember the think about how much happiness will give to that customer, because on the back of his mind he knows that he has to stand maybe 10 or 15 minutes or 5 minutes to check in. Now he goes and within few seconds your check-in is over, right? So that is somewhere they created this. Right now obviously all the hotels are doing, so that is not a big USP, but 20 years back, yes, that was a big USP. What else? Starbucks. So if you go to, again, it is a product design, not necessarily a service design. So this is actually Starbucks motive, right? It is not that okay they are serving best coffee, so they're providing the best environment. So that experience what they created, right? If you look into this, round tables in stores were strategically created in effort to. Sometimes what happens, people go and just to like enjoy the ambience or environment, they might be going alone, right? So they might not have a couple of friends to go together. So what happens if it is a big rectangle table? So they will feel very like kind of clumsy to sit there in a rectangle, even it is not a big 4 people sitting rectangle table or a square table. They feel clumsy, right? And that is where the in a Starbucks, if you, some of you have gone to Starbucks, the corner tables will be mostly round ones. Center ones will be mostly square ones or rectangle ones. So that those people who have gone on their own and need some relaxing time, need some alone time, they can use that, right? So they can sit alone there and enjoy their coffee or enjoy the atmosphere. So they specifically understood the customer pain point, challenges, empathize with. So if you go to a customer and ask that, nobody will say that, okay, no, I do not like going to Starbucks alone. So that is where somebody they observed it. So that is where if you look into those empathy, shadowing, observing, customers moving to a counter, somebody with a group of friends, somebody coming alone, what is their like kind of behavior, what kind of behavior they display in store, within the store. Lot of studies have been done, like some of you have done taken marketing research, we'll discuss in next semester. So how do you observe these people in store, right? There is interesting case study, right? This what is those chips, or one company did like very like kind of a interesting study. So they designed the package. What happens if you go to these stores, all these packages, right? These chips and all those things, right? And there will be some characters, or there will be hero celebrities, right? Sell like on that package, right? They created, so their forgot the company's name. They created that that product was basically for the children, right? So now what happens? They understood that when children is standing, right, along with their parents, they're moving in the aisles, right, in a this Walmart or whichever other stores. Whenever they're looking up, because there will be 3 feet or 2.5 feet, right? Whenever they're looking up, that package were designed in a such a way that the characters, right? The characters are looking down, the cartoon characters, right? And the eyes, they will make it big. The cartoon characters eyes big and eyes are looking down, not the like normal like adult will see. It is like looking down. And that design was perfectly done so that when children are moving on the eyes and they look when they're looking at from the 2.5 feet height or less than that 2 feet height. So the direct eye contact will happen with the package. Direct eye contact will happen with that cartoon character because the cartoon character is designed in such a way that it is looking down. And even if the package is at the top shelf, right now it is looking down and it is inviting like, okay, buy me or take me. Oh, right. So a lot of interesting case studies happens when you observe your audience or observe your customers. Right. Bank of America, again, many companies have started many applications. If you go to Google Play Store, have this kind of concept, but this they did it long back, right? How they so once design thinking started, they took help of that. So what happens? Like most of us, right? Have this I think there is a famous application. So whenever you make a purchase, right, let's say it is 999 rupees or 799 rupees, right, 1 rupee, 2 rupee, right, rather than making changes, right, or 799 50 paisa, right, it will be deducted from our credit card, debit card, or if you are giving cash, it is always a hassle, right? So now what happens, uh, they started rounding up, basically Bank of America. So let's say it is $78 or $79. They'll round it up to next dollar, right? $80. $1, it will automatically go to your savings account, right? So they build that habit of saving, right? Now you know that every time you are purchasing something, very little amount, few cents or few dollars, right? And obviously that you can control it, that what is the maximum amount or to the how much it should not be that you bought something for $700 and 300 is deducted to a savings account, right? But again, like it created a habit in customers of saving. And Bank of America is right now they have their savings account created for your customers, right? Now if you see in Google Play Store, like there are many financial apps uh, exactly do the same activity. If you use that application, anytime you make a purchase, they will deduct some amount from your account. So basically the balance amount, right? If you are buying something for 990 or 950 rupees, maybe 20 rupees or 30 rupees will go to your savings account, right? So it creates a habit in customer, right? Because customer was facing issues like, "Arey, like I do not have money to save. Everything I have very less salary, everything is in expenses, right?" But now you build a very then that is something is known as nudging, NUDGE, right? You nudge customers to create these kind of habits, right? Uh, there was a interesting case study from World Health Organizations. A lot of countries they found difficulty. Children have a iron deficiency, right? Now, how will you make sure that children take a lot of iron? There are fruits, there are vegetables which are like plenty of iron is there, but you're not able to make. Obviously, one is accessibility. They might not have accessibility to truth, so all are not middle class or rich family. Second is obviously making children eat vegetables and fruit. It's very difficult. So they started creating that. So now they know that what is the problem of the children. As a children, we all know that if somebody gives us vegetables, if it is not like kind of a toffee or something, yes, we'll take that. Vegetables, fruits, we are not willing to eat, right? So now empathize with them. So they created this iron feces, right? So they take those vitamin iron, right? They created small fish, right? Iron fishes they call it. Now what happens? They keep these children to play with them. So whenever you are giving that milk in morning or in the afternoon or in the evening, now you'll say that okay, look, that iron fish is floating or drowning, right, in the milk. So that is the habit you created now. So and that is something interesting, right? So though they have something to play and they'll dip in the water or they dip in the milk. And now anyhow they're drinking milk, but that iron quantity, whatever is required for children is with that milk, with that water, with that juice, it is going to their body. Now you are not asking them to eat fruits or vegetables, which anyhow they are not going to do, which is a very big task for parents. And that is somewhere and that is somewhere it will happen when empathize, right? It will not happen if you do a survey and say that okay, uh, why you are not eating vegetables or fruits. Obviously, these are not tasty. Now you'll empathize it, what they like to do, what they do not like to do, and how can you make them savings. We do not have, most of us do not have the savings habit. How you nudge customers to make a savings in your bank? Intuit. Intuit basically like kind of this software company which provides all these kind of financial spreadsheet and different kind of softwares, right? Again, they did not say that okay, we are very unique. So this is where they started saying that we have. So they had already 46 applications, 46 different kind of Excel. There are different application, different softwares to build the different financial spreadsheet. So they started with the logo 47th mover advantage. So they said, so otherwise companies what they say, we are the first one to do this, we are the second one to do this, we are the best in line. They said that we are the 47th in this line, right? But what they played in the UX, user experience, right? So it is like a, otherwise what happens, building a spreadsheet or financial spreadsheet, you create Excel file, put those columns, put those names, right? Every time you have to create a own financial register. So they created specific templates. Right now in Excel also those are available. But when Intuit came, so how they differentiated them? So they understood the customer's problem. Every time customer is creating any template, so customer have to create a template, put those headlines. So they created as many as templates possible, and they understood what kind of templates, what kind of use cases of customer side. So if you're going to create a business case, what kind of template? If you're going to create a health plan or a, let's say insurance plan or a, let's say travel plan, what kind of templates you require, right? If you go to Excel right now, there are a lot of templates. It did not used to be there. But Intuit was the first company to give you that template. Now customer is happy, right? They know that okay, if I'm planning my travel expenses, this is the template I'm going to use. It is a already ready-made template. I need not have to put any more headlines and all those things, right? This is somewhere they understood what customer is facing. There is a spreadsheet, so they are no different than Excel. But providing that template, ready-made template, was the USP for them, right? I think that was the last slide. So I'll stop here. And any last question? Okay, chalo, if not, please submit your component 2 on time and be ready for presentation in next class, right? Chalo, take care.
Sir, attendance.
Roll number?
So 0 to 1.
Okay. Okay.